Kumate, 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 kumate.
What?
It's from Bloodsport or whatever. It's like that's
Yeah,
that's
but
like,
what's crazy is our
that's the name of
dog's
your dog.
name is Kuma, right?
It is-
Kuma.
yeah, kumate.
Fierce little bugger.
Right.
Well, it turns out that our dog Kuma, he can catch rats.
Ooh.
Yeah, we were in the yard and he was like sniffing under the stairs, and suddenly a rat burst out and he caught it and was like kind of like toying with it, and then he killed it. So he actually caught a rat. I couldn't believe it.
Whoa. I know I've asked you what type of dog this was, and you're like, I don't know.
He's a black dog, black and brown dog.
That's like size, maybe. How about a size?
You don't know. You don't know.
Like, if you post a picture or something, like I might be able to figure it out for you.
Well,
like, are you not curious to know like what kind of dog?
Oh no, the thing is, I have the breakdown somewhere on my phone of like the percentages, but I can't remember all these things. It's for me. It's like dogs, dogs and cars.
Yeah.
I can't remember a single thing about them.
Okay, yeah. I think I'm in the same camp as you. Actually, this is hilarious, but I think I'm exactly in the same camp. I add sports to that as well. Like knowing that your dog is like 2% like Irish Catholic or whatever, doesn't
Irish Catholic.
You know what I mean? Like.
Okay, see, I at least know breeds of dogs.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, but it's gonna. You're going to like one of those sites that have the like find your DNA, where it's just like they don't.
We did the swab.
You did the doggy swab.
So we have the exact breakdown, but I can't remember it for the life of me.
Oh my god! Well, all right, we're gonna have to put the breakdown in the comments.
Wait, you paid money for this?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
We did too.
But somebody did. Somebody did to find out what your dog. Are you kidding me?
Of course.
What kind of dog it is? It's just a dog.
No.
Oh no. There's going to be a lot of people angry about this.
Oh.
No, it's not about being angry. It's about like there are certain traits. Like we were certain our dog was not a black lab, but was more cattle dog, and we were right. And a cattle dog is going to act completely different than a black lab that we were told she was.
I see. So, like, you just got to be careful about, like, the cultural appropriation when talking to your dog.
No!
I got to know where it's from before I talk to it.
Well, I've told you about the dingo risks that like
that's right.
Cattle dogs have the extra flexibility or like an extra joint or something that they can actually open doorknobs. So that would be good to know if your dog can do that.
This is like Michael Crichton's like forgotten draft of like Jurassic Park. It was all about dogs at first, like dogs that can open fucking doors.
Clever girl.
clever girl. Yeah, exactly.
Oh
my goodness! What were you?
You may have us, but you'll never get off the island.
There's a bunch of dogs. I don't want to get off the island. Belly rubs.
Puppy Park.
Puppy Park.
Yeah,
Sounds
Puppy
awesome.
Puppy Park. Man, that
Sign
would
me
kill.
up.
We're going to the toy poodle exhibit.
Okay, no, I'll skip that one.
I do know that Kuma has like some husky in him because he's noisy. He's really, really noisy.
Oh, and he gets the husky bitchin'.
The howly.
He doesn't do the howling. He had kind of like a phase. Like he had like in his teenage phase where he used to like no seriously, he used to like stomp on toys and howl around the house when no one was around.
Oh my god.
like a moody teenager.
Yeah. But enough about you as a kid, Chris. How about your dog?
Me? A moody teenager?
You used to stomp on toys and howl.
We all had our emo phase.
I'm pretty much the same as I was back then.
This does not surprise me about you, Chris.
I haven't changed at all, really.
Least likely to turn into a derelict. Right there, Chris.
Are we doing our ttrpg superlatives or whatever? Least likely to turn into a derelict.
That was not in our yearbook.
Yes.
Wait, that was not in your yearbook? So everyone was derelicts in your school? Okay.
No.
He's just twisting it.
You cannot win. You cannot win here.
Nope.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of not winning, through the history of combat.
God.
That's better than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Walked right
Hey,
into that one.
simmer down. Simmer down. All right.
What was it? What was it? Building.
Um, yeah, Bill. Okay. Building was pretty
Classic.
bad. It was pretty bad. I'll give you that. All right. What we are talking about today is running a historic campaign. What?
Yeah. What?
Yeah. What is a historic campaign, guys?
I think that starts the actual official question, because the more I kick this around, the more I realize that there's 4 versions of this. Because you can kind of look at novels or just written like literature about history, and you can see the 4 categories really clearly. So first is just straight alternate reality, right? You've got you've got Man in the High Castle. So it's like, what if, Nazi Germany won the war, right? And you see like an imagined version based on, like, you start with a base of history, you just turn something, and then you have, all these other branches, right? So alternative history is pretty common. People love it. It's a fun way of starting off with a campaign, because you have that foundation in reality, right? Then you've got just straight historic fiction, which you've got, it's varying. Like when I was looking up how much truth a historic fiction should have, the opinions were all over the place. For me, I kind of said 60% to 95% true makes it somewhere in the historic fiction. It's still fiction. That's the key. So never read a historic fiction thinking it's going to give you a history lesson. Then you've got actual historic and reenactment. That should be at least 90 to 100% true. And that's going to be way harder because the research load on that is massive.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got historic inspired. And that's probably more where we're talking about for campaigns, which I put that in the 0 to 30% true. But you do run the risk of cultural appropriation with this. So
I think we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think all of our conversations are going to fall somewhere within these 4 like classic categories when dealing with historic content.
So I think when we were talking about this, I don't think we need to necessarily stick to sort of one genre, but we can kind of be a little bit more genre fluid here.
Well, yeah, because I think any creative work can kind of tread very easily cross one border into another. I think the first big question, and I know writers who work in historic, I've worked in historic, the first question you need to ask is, how truthful? How much does the truth matter to this story you're going to tell? Now, in written literature, obviously, that's a pretty heavy question that needs to be answered really early on. But in a campaign, to me, like when I try to imagine doing, and we've done historic campaigns too. So I think some of my thinking was based on. I think that to me that seemed like the easiest vector if you were going to create your own campaign is start with a foundation of something that's really interesting to you. Mine all those cool details until you've kind of exhausted yourself, and then fill in the blanks. What do you think about that, Chris?
Well, full disclaimer here. This is going to be an episode where I have maybe more questions than solutions, as I myself have never run a campaign set in like a non-fantasy setting. So, yeah.
Interesting. That surprises me.
A lot of questions. Really? Does it surprise you though? Because I know so little about history.
It's your research. It's your attention to detail. Your like incredible bookkeeping. That just screamed to me like somebody who'd be really into history and like historic topics too. So it's wow, really?
Yeah, I do a lot of research. I'll admit that. Like when I find something that I like, I will spend like days on end just learning about everything, but then almost immediately forget it after we've run it. So that is
podcast.
Kind of,
this is in the spirit of the podcast. We're just a bunch of people who are sitting around having a little chat either before a game or after a game, and like talking about potential campaigns that we might have in the future. So don't feel like that you're kind of the third wheel of this conversation, Chris. Of course, like this is what makes it really exciting and fascinating. I'd like to add to maybe tack on to what Sandra was saying before, but say that alternative history is probably the only way to do a historic campaign, because once you get a randomized dice roll element into the game, it's going to be alternate history.
Yeah.
You can't follow the course
Mhm.
of history unless you're doing some sort of maybe a kind of time slip game where the rules of time travel are such that the assassination of JFK is going to happen regardless, and you're following. But still, within the confines of that, you can't just be doing something. This seems like almost like a Nathan Fielder kind of idea, is to try to recreate a day that has just happened exactly how it happened. It's like a fruitless, impossible endeavor, but it wants to be kind of interesting to see. Like, record yourself, record everyone around you, record all of their thoughts. Like, how deep do you go? It's impossible, right?
Well, so there is a way that you could. The output would be alternate reality, but as a DM, you could come in with all of the historic pressure points, right, and see what the players do. So the output is, but as the person planning the campaign, running the campaign, and assuming your players are going into this historic period blind, you could kind of play a what if on this by giving all the actual historic data correct, and then seeing what choices they make.
It's like the Apple TV Plus episode For All Mankind, where it takes an idea that's history and then slowly switches it, and therefore everything becomes reframed as new again, right? Great first season. Anyway, I think we really jumped in the deep end here and got into the weeds really quick. The thing that shouldn't scare players off from doing historical campaign is it's just another setting to do role play in. Everyone sort of seems to default, many tables seem to default to the your standard Tolkien medieval fantasy.
Hello.
Right?
He's right there.
Right? Elves, dwarves, whatever, and maybe some kind of variation. My homebrew world is sort of the same thing, maybe a little bit more Renaissance inspired, perhaps. But choosing a time and place in the real world, though, can be super fun, and it's just a refreshing, even if it's a one-off, kind of step away from the, one might argue, overplayed standard fantasy setting, of sword and board kind of magic users and elves kind of stuff, right? I mean, what Tolkien did is incredible, drawing on all that mythology that he used from, but like, why not draw from just, right? Like you mentioned Delta Green, Sandra, like the 1960s, and the flower power movement that was going on, or the civil rights movement, or some place in time that something unique was happening that could have been caused by some other extra or extraterrestrial forces or whatnot. I mean, that's what all of the modules of Delta Green is based on, which is probably some of the best campaign stuff that's out there for anyone that wants to do historical gaming. It's there for you. It's history plus Cthulhu, right? I mean, awesome.
Now, I can definitely say I was skeptical going into this because it's not my era. Like, if you do with history, you kind of have your span that you're focused in. And mine's pre-Columbus. Once Columbus sets across, I lose interest, right? So we're dealing with like the Vietnam War and things like that. Not my wheelhouse. But week after week that we wind up playing this, and just in like full disclosure, we've set this up for when there's going to be a couple absences of our main party, and this is what we're doing on the side to deal with like scheduling conflicts. So I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds like a good solution, but not my era. So, but I keep finding myself after every session kind of looking up these little tidbits, these little historic bits that we encountered, and it's starting to draw me into an era that just wasn't interesting at all, and now it is. Yeah. So that's kind of the little hidden power of running or being part of a historic campaign.
How do you find the 60s to be not an interesting era? What are you talking about?
It's not that it's not interesting. It's just that my interests get pulled elsewhere. So that's it.
That's me as well. Although I do love Mad Men. I do love watching Mad Men, but I don't know if I could run a campaign in Mad Men.
Well, certainly one of the biggest benefits of running a historic campaign is the sort of the legwork that you are willing to put into it or not. It doesn't matter. If you say, I want to run a Mad Men campaign, it could be this kind of weird alternate history 50s, like completely just 50s inspired in this sense. But writing a session, I find myself when I write a session in my own homebrew world that I just coming up with ideas off the cuff or from whatever media I've been watching, blah, 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 blah. But when I'm doing a historical campaign, I kind of start to, like you say, Sandra, like you suggest, is get into the weeds, and I start kind of finding out more about these, interesting figures and interesting moments of history, going into news articles and all this kind of stuff. And then, the process of even creating the adventure as a GM becomes like educational, which is like, for me, kind of like the best part of it.
Well, like I've run, like I watched this documentary on Netflix about like the Burning Man festival, right? Mm-hmm. And then I ran the Burning Man in my world, so I kind of do the same thing.
Oh, neat!
Right? So they went to the Twinkling Maiden festival, and it was it was kind of, I took the ideas, the concepts behind Burning Man, and then I kind of made it into like something that fit my setting. So.
Yeah, that sounds like historic inspired at that point.
Oh, it is definitely, and all over my campaign are things like that, right? So I do a lot of research, like I had said before, but in terms of actually knowing, getting inspired and actually knowing the facts about history, that's always been kind of one of my one of the things that doesn't quite match. I do kind of have a question about, like, Jay, you've run these historical campaigns. How much research on prep goes into it?
Well, the last two sessions that I've run historically have been part of the Delta Green series, and the modules that they present are very rich with information, though I have to read the book like 3 times back to front, and these are 400-page novel, big tomes of information, and then kind of disseminate and boil down what I think is like the kernel of the story here.
Yeah.
But then from there, you start building out, and then what the players kind of latch onto. You still have to do this sort of like, create as you go mentality. You can't have everything kind of like written in stone, as it were. But I do a lot of legwork, and like I said before, that's what's really fun for me.
Okay, how much legwork? How much goes into prep?
Oh, crazy! Yeah, crazy amounts of prep. I'm going down rabbit holes, but yes, the thing that happens is when you're playing in a within a recognizable location, is you don't often have to spend the time describing these places. Like in a fantasy world, you walk into a bar, just people know, what a pizzeria in North Jersey might look like if you're from that area, and then you could add little details or where things become a little bit different, and then you could start adding on to that. You've got everyone has a kind of world map of of an area, which becomes, you could start playing with that, and then you could start playing with events in history that are coming up that can be therefore kind of influenced by the events of the game. And this is what Delta Green does. I don't mean to harp on it, but it is some of the best historical gaming stuff that's out there, capitalizes on, whereas it makes your characters feel kind of so insane that, the upcoming election where Nixon, we all know as, citizens of the real world, that Nixon got elected, but then the characters in this world be like, wait, is this because of some sort of like evil magic users that are attempting to sway their election, blah, 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 blah. I think we
not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
But the only one who's changed is me. I've become crazy.
Oh my God. What's that from Alien Nixon. Oh, right.
No, God, Alien Nixon. That's my new band name.
Alien Nixon.
I thought we were just graced by a new guest to the 3RPG podcast.
That would be one of the points of attraction for me for doing like a historical campaign, is that I wouldn't have to spend like 10 hours making names.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like you don't have to come up with all these crazy concepts. They're already kind of not set in stone, but they're there for you to use, almost like more tools.
That's an interesting point, because I know in talking to Jay about his prep for the Delta Green stuff, he went down massive rabbit holes got really sucked into it,
Mm.
was having a blast with it. But I kind of got the sense that it almost was taking you more time to prep what is essentially a pre-made module than your own homebrew. Now, is that the case, or did I get that kind of wrong?
No, 100% it does. But that's part of the joy of it all in a weird way. 'Cause that's how you learn. That's how you grow in a weird way. One of the great parts of running such a storyline in a historical time period is that when you want to send links over to players as to like what a character looks like, rather than sketching them out yourself or directing them to Pinterest or something like that, you just send them a Wikipedia entry and say like, read some of this, or like go to the this day in history and find out all the little information from that. And then in addition, you don't find yourself going over to playing like the Skyrim, Witcher, Conan the Barbarian soundtrack, but you could actually play kind of diegetic music from the era, which just makes it really fun.
I have thought about that too. That sounds like so much fun.
The immersion was really great through a lot of that.
It's super fun, and you find yourself like, okay, I'm gonna find northern Vietnamese rock and roll from the early '60s and stuff like that, and throw that on in the background. And it's just like your YouTube suggestions go off the hook, but
you've ruined your algorithm.
The algorithm goes a little bit mental, but it's super fun to do that, and you can play with like lyrics and what they mean and how they can kind of influence the storyline or not, right? Maybe even play songs from a different era to then edit an alternate history section. Like, what if, like, back in episode in the teens somewhere, where we made a one-off adventure in a cowboy world that descends into the depths, that you could start playing different music from different eras, and maybe that can be your alternate 50s, but actually plays like music of like new wave punk era from the 90s.
Everybody going surfing.
Yeah, I don't know. Or, exactly.
The synthesizer gets invented early, and
yeah, and that could be central to the story arc, and yet the synthesizer is this magical element that is making people go a little bit insane or something like that. It's fascinating stuff. When you have your dream sequences, the dreams cannot be dreams, but it could be players doing things like getting onto the computer or playing video games and doing all these really modern things. Like they could be playing D&D in the D&D game and have like go even deeper, and then it just gets mental, right?
One of the concerns for me though is like drawing hands. All right, so drawing hands is incredibly difficult. Why is it difficult? So one of the problems with hands is that everybody knows what hands look like, and when it's wrong, then everyone can tell that it's wrong, right? Because we and that's one of the concerns I would have for something based in history, because I don't know a lot about history. And I think the verisimilitude, or what is it called? Verisimilitude,
right.
or
verisimilitude,
yeah, would kind of be a little off because I don't have that interest in history.
Well, I don't think it really matters, to be honest, that much. I mean, I don't know what it was actually like during the French Indian War and so like that, but you could.
Well, who's judging you?
Yeah.
That's the question, and this is a question. Well, okay, let's reel this back for just a second, and then have you re-answer the question. So those 4 categories that I listed, and the names shift depending on who you're talking to, but those 4 categories are generally for writers. So yes, if you are writing straight historic, it needs to be true. You're gonna get roasted if you're wrong. So are you ever going to run a campaign that is purely intended to be historically 100% accurate? No, I'm assuming. So if you back up to any of the other 3, you're already implying that something here is not going to be correct. You're prioritizing the storytelling over a history lesson. And I don't think that there's anybody who's ever going to roast you for telling a good story. They're going to roast you if you claim that it's true. So it's about truth telling and lie telling, and what balance you're going to present.
The idea that nobody knows what a dragon looks like. Nobody knows what true magic looks like. maybe, right? And those are the things that you can kind of get away with when you're like, when you're running a fantasy-based campaign, is that all these little details, it's all magic, right? And as long as it makes sense to me, it makes sense to the world, it makes sense to the players, right? But what I fear is that, my lack of knowledge for history.
Well, how much history is 100% accurate to begin with? Like, my first iteration of career was going to be in archaeology and anthropology. And let me tell you that when you start pulling things out of the ground and you start looking at them this way, you're like, I think it's a jug handle.
I think it's grandma.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guessing that goes on. I mean, it could have been grandma. We did dig up bones too. So could have been grandma.
You name a present, there's no way that I'm going to guess what year or like in what order they came in.
So don't tell a story that involves that kind of high accuracy. Pick something that's already fuzzy, already hazy. Like pick a question.
But then that already very much limits what kind of story I can tell. Right?
And here's the second thing: don't run a campaign on a like very well known figure. Run it on like I think part of like when it came to like the Delta.
That's called
like
just like
focus,
fantasy. where nobody knows any character, so I can do whatever I want, really, right?
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln, vampire hunter. It doesn't matter. Like it's just
that's probably the best example of what would be really fun to do as a campaign. And this example has come up so many times too in other conversations.
Like evil Beethoven. Or something.
Just what's fun. That's always, and this is what also writers have to ask themselves. And like the number of people who try to take on a historic project and fizzle out. Here's the thing: why were you even tackling this in the first place? Where's your passion? What drew you to it? Why was this the answer to the story you wanted to tell? Because the story is always central. So why did those historic facts even support your story in the first place? You got to flip where you're coming from. It's not how do I be as historic accurate as possible, because you're not running a history club. You're running a TTRPG with a great story that happens to have historical elements supporting the story.
The framework is within TRPG element, and the main goal here is to have fun with it. I mean, look, I ran a session for you, Chris, where you were a player, and it was based in a historical time period during the French Indian War in northern New York. Niagara Falls area and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure there was lots of inaccuracies in there, but it felt historical. It still felt kind of grounded. The key thing I think that makes a history game work, unless you're going to go like, again, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, kind of like wild.
I keep saying it. I keep wanting to do it more.
Just go. Yeah, it would be super fun. Just go crazy with it. It's like once you ground things in the real world, then all of the elements like dragons or zombies or magic, so that have like immediately a more heightened quality to them.
Agreed.
And that's what makes the historical setting attractive, I think, at least to me. In a fantasy setting, there's always a weird kind of disassociation with like, having to play this kind of like noble paladin who then goes up and then slaughters a whole village of goblins and comes back and like, wipes the blood off or whatever. It's like, it's like, whoa, Like, but if you set things in historical, therefore like kind of real world setting, now you've got like you got instant stakes.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever played or run a game where there was not a fantastical element to it? Yeah.
I think that everyone is John's was in a real world setting. Dogs in the Vineyard, I think, is another one that's all about just like kind of trying to stay sane during a horrific situation. There are RPG games that are set during like the Holocaust and all this kind of stuff. So these are it's all out there. I mean, but these settings help people, become empathetic to people who live through these situations and all this kind of stuff. So they're really effective tools. But I think on that note, we have more to talk about this. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back to talk more about historical gaming in the second half. This episode of the 3RPG podcast is brought to you by
Salutations. I am Glap, and he is Gloff, and we are multiversal editors from Superiverse Incorporated. We are offering our services to villains, deities, figures of fate, and unseen forces. Do you find yourself in instances where adventures contemplate future events that are superior to what you had planned? Well, allow us to intervene or exovene. With our assistance, that quiet man in the temple was the mastermind behind the massacre this entire time. It was part of the plan to have that powerful, mindless flesh golem secretly contain some residual humanity, allowing it to be convinced to turn against their creator through diplomacy. We can inject some fluidity to your cannon. Yes, fluidity to your cannon. For a small payment of 80 glucrons, we can make the solution to the labyrinth, those stones the bard was picking up in each room as they knock. This is killing me. This is killing me.
Fucking bard!
What is happening? What is
this is some alternate history shit right here.
Yeah, I know, that was the intention. That's the intention.
Go. Yes.
Oh, God. Whew. Okay, I'll start again from... No, I don't know if I can even do that. Whew. And salutations. I am Glap, and he is Gloff, and we are multiversal editors from Superiverse Incorporated. We are offering our services to villains, deities, figures of fate, and unseen forces. Do you find yourself in instances? Oh God, this is crazy. This is insane. This is insane. It's so much harder when you're doing that. Jeez.
I'm the other guy. I'm the other guy.
I know.
You guys sound like the twins in Australia that finish each other's sentences.
Sandwiches.
Holy shit.
Okay, jump out. I don't even think you need to end this one, Chris, to be honest, unless you want to get...
No, finish it. Finish it.
Oh,
right,
God.
Okay, jump back to where you left off.
Okay, all right. Oh my God, that would be so hard to finish it, going all the way through that. For the small payment of 80 glucrons.
How much is it?
We can make the solution. The labyrinth, those stones Bard was picking up in each room, as they now contain hidden glyphs inside them. Glap, I fear that 80 glucons is too little monetary reward for our transcendent amendments. Then we shall tell them it was in fact 120 glucons for our services, and none shall remember that it was originally 80 glucons. Yes, it is 120. So if you require a superior universe where your god of valor, blood, and blood... If you require a superior universe where your god of valor, war, and blood is also a god of pineapples, contact Gloff and Glap with 120 glucrons and join us in your Superiverse. Superiverse, make your world better than you can imagine.
Ooh, pineapples.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
You were gonna give Chris a fucking breakdown. Oh my God.
We've reached a new milestone.
Remember, whatever doesn't break you, Chris makes you stronger.
You say that every time. You say that every time.
And look at you, not broken.
Yes.
You look a little stronger. I think you're getting there. Let's see a.
All the white hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's only whitening it more.
And we're back. And to tell you the truth, I have no idea what that sponsor was even about.
Really?
Yeah.
I just want pineapples. That's all I know.
Do you know? Okay, tell me, Sandra. And Chris, you don't even jump in. What was that
No,
about? What was the product?
It was clearly when you've made the wrong damn decision in a dungeon, you can unmake your dumb decision and have something else happen for a nominal fee that will shift depending on if you remember it.
I have 120 glucrons.
Well, glucons. I put them on my Caesar salad.
What's the exchange rate of a glucron?
Well, we don't know.
3 whole pineapples.
I think croutons are underrated.
Croutons are awesome.
Right?
Agreed.
Dude, every time I have like half a loaf of bread that I didn't go through for some reason, I turn it into croutons. It's awesome.
Yeah. I'm gonna make my next time I'm a player, I'm gonna make a gnome and call them croutons.
You will never be a player.
Yeah,
when are you ever gonna be a player?
Croutons the gnome. Hey, croutons.
Oh, go on.
Hey.
Remind me not to be a DM for that.
I got one voice. And he's from the northeast corner. And he's from the tri-state area.
It moves around the tri-state area a little bit.
Meanwhile, I have many voices.
Get out of here, you!
Leave the pub.
Set phaser to kill.
No.
Kill.
Oh shit!
Valuable service.
Yeah. Good grief! All right, we're talking about historical gaming. Chris, I think. Do you have more questions?
I do. So I did ask Jay, like, how much prep goes into, setting up or planning these sessions. Sandra, as a player, and when you're aware of the setting, how much research do you have going into it?
Well, the first question is always going to be, does the DM want you to have any foreknowledge? Sometimes the answer is going to be yes, sometimes it's no. And usually it's dependent upon how deeply historically accurate it's going to be.
Right.
So something like Delta.
If you choose some obscure Napoleonic battle and you don't know whether the Grand Armée won or not, and you don't want your players to know either, you shouldn't have them look it up, because that's like that could become like the centerpiece of the whole story, is like, did they win this battle or not? Yeah.
But I mean, though, like, if they don't do any research and then they're like, I jump into my car and you're like, oh, cars really weren't a thing back then, right? Couldn't that be problematic?
That happens in a fantasy campaign too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like, I think that there's a certain level, like if I were to be a DM informing my players about a historic campaign, I would tell them, listen to the music, look at the clothing, look at the architecture, look at the things that are like easily accessible outside of a storyline. So get the world setting down, and then try to pull some of that into your character build. So like in Delta Green, I knew which car my character would drive. Okay. So things like that. I knew a car would be involved. We were in that era. Maybe a couple of songs she might listen to. I knew exactly what she looked like. Does she wear makeup? Okay, she does wear makeup, of course. She's, kind of a spy in a way. So what is the makeup that's available? So those threads I'm absolutely going to run down, because I need that to be able to picture my own RP in immersion. But did I go digging around into like Vietnam War era, like statistics? Absolutely not. 100% not, because my character would not know the event that's going on in her present. So I wanted to go into that completely blind.
I think this makes it, again, going back to a new element of fun that is available for those interested in trying to run a historically based campaign, is just that. And, while the DM can't, prepare for every variable or know, what recipes or that month in history there was there wasn't any baby food or something. What's going on. But if a player kind of does find that little bit of information, then brings that to the table as like a moment of their character, that could be like a really fun, this is how you all learn together. And by choosing, this is the type of makeup that they would have used, or this is the type of car that they would have driven, like these are the things that I wouldn't be looking into necessarily, but then you bringing them to the table as a player, helps to enrich
Yeah,
the
definitely.
historical feel of the campaign, and doing the research for the character becomes a little bit more involved, but also enjoyable to some, I think, rather than just saying like, okay, what color of hair do I want or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, see, I'm
Um,
the type of person that, like, if I were to find out the setting, I'd try to find, like, like uh words and kind of like vocabulary from that time and try to intertwine them into my conversations. That's again the type of player and DM I am. So
Like, that's following the passion again, because again,
yeah.
we always have to remember that we're doing this because we love it. And if you start going off the path of wait, you don't love to play, Jay? What the? I mean, there are definitely times you get frustrated and you can wonder why the hell you did this, but but in general, yeah, there are just those things that really kind of get your rocks off when it comes to these like, whether it's RP, whether it's writing, whether it's world building. What's immensely fun for me is to gather as much of these like innate details. Like, I don't need to know the events necessarily, but I want those innate details. Like, I do lore writing, I build lore repositories for IPs. This is what I do because I love doing it. And why would I not do it for my own character? Why would I not do it for the worlds I'm playing it?
Yes.
But it's not going to be fun for a lot of other people. So why would you do it? You always have to find the part of this that's fun and then lean in hard to it. But if being like really up on the statistics of the Vietnam War just isn't your thing, don't do it. Somebody else at the table probably did, and that's going to be their moment to shine. Your moment to shine is going to know all of the cars that are available, all of the fashion, all of this, and you're going to bring that to the table. So lean into your party member, lean into your DM. Everybody's going to bring something to the table that's going to make that world really rich. You don't have to do it all. Even as a DM, you don't have to do it all. Like, it's a group activity.
Honest, you don't have to do any to be honest. Everyone has an idea in their mind what the 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s were like. You just start from there and don't do any research and see what happens. And when you're playing real world people with like real world emotions, that is a little bit difficult at first, but it will then transfer over to your fantasy setting and make it even richer, I think, because you've played something that's out of your wheelhouse, and now you're and like you said, Chris, like you could play, and when you're playing stuff in the background, you could play like radio broadcasts or TV commercials or all this kind of fun stuff that you have access to that you don't have in a general fantasy setting and stuff like that, which is really fun.
I have a huge folder of like techno music that I'd love to do in a session, but I've never been able to use it because I only do fantasy. So yeah, maybe one day I'll have to maybe jump into sci-fi or something. But it's this history. I'll try somewhere sometime. But yeah.
Well, so I guess that leads us then to maybe our final topic today is like, since you haven't played any history and I have limited view. First of all, shout out to the Ken and Robin podcast, Ken and Robin Talk About Stuff podcast, which they always do little segments about just like a historical figure, and they do a little bit of a deep dive, and you can just take any of those ideas and like skin them onto an NPC or a character story. It's just fascinating. But like what periods of history would you find fascinating to roleplay in or to do a story in, that maybe you haven't or would love to, like, okay, Edo period Japan, or
definitely,
Napoleonic
Japan,
naval encounters or something like that. Feudal Japan,
feudal Japan. I think like
run an Assassin's Creed game.
Well, not the most recent one, but like more Ghost of Tsushima, more maybe in that direction. But
Mongol invasion or something like that. Yeah. Could be awesome. Sandra, how about you? What time periods would you be really interested in playing?
I feel like I've been so immersed in if this never came out before, I'm like a multi-project writer. I used to be single-threaded, and now I've found the ways of working on multiple projects at once. So one of the projects I'm working on is a historic fiction. I think it's strictly historic fiction, but with a supernatural bent to it. And it straddles between 15th century Europe and I'm still trying to dial in exactly what era, but it's going to be like an ancient Greece kind of narrative.
Okay.
And the more I dig into trying to really pin down what year of the ancient Greek narrative, the more I'm being so fully immersed into like the politics of this, the big black holes of knowledge. Like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Nobody knows because that history is lost. And I just want to just fill in all those gaps with more story.
Okay.
So that just because I'm right now so in that headspace, I would absolutely make a campaign in it.
Jay, where are you?
Yeah, I'd love to do sort of like World War One, like from on like the Russian front, from like a Russian perspective, like Fall of the Tsar and all that kind of stuff would be super fun.
So,
like Lutheran kind of Schmalkaldic League kind of Protestant Reformation, religious persecution kind of stuff would be super fun to do.
so what is the draw there? Why that period though? Is it that you feel persecuted right now?
That's a huge no, but that's a huge question. I think that just goes into aesthetic choices. Like, why do I like spicy food over sweet food? I have no clue.
Oh, okay.
It's just one of those things. Like, I've always wanted to take the Trans-Siberian, across and get off on different stops and all this kind of stuff. And why do you want to go to one country? For doing a Genghis Khan story would be awesome. That'd be really fun to do, whether you're with him or against him, or some political intrigue during the kind of the Great Horde or whatever, the Golden Horde. I don't know. It's just like, why does anyone get drawn to any point of history? Who knows? There's just fascinating topics,
When you made me think of one other possibility. I think it's super fun that if you are even remotely into researching history, picking one of those weird confluence moments in history where like all of a sudden you've got like swords and guns. You've got like what you would like. I think the fall of Constantinople is such a fascinating one of those confluence moments, right? So if you bring one of those in and you just kind of blow your players' minds with, oh no, they had this technology, but they also had this going on and this. Like that is, I think that would make such an incredible narrative to weave your players through.
Setting a campaign around a bunch of time travelers who jump around to different time periods could be really fun. Like do like a quantum leap kind of thing where they could just like pop in and have a one shot in some certain place at a certain time during the Alamo or whatever, do an Old West. I've never done it, for someone who loves the Old West, I've never done a Western RPG, which is crazy to me. I don't know why I've not done it. I think I tried once and it failed because I wasn't ready for or as experienced as GM as I am now. But I'd also love to just pick up like any random history book of of time and place of which I don't know about and just set something there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like to do that as well.
Why not do something about like the first Polynesians who decided to get on a boat and just like start sailing out into the Pacific Ocean or something like that, and that could be really fun kind of story. Do a campaign on Rapa Nui or like Easter Island or something like that. That could be really fun as well. Who knows, right? So I think it's sad that it's kind of an untouched genre in a way. Though I'd imagine maybe more players would maybe do like kind of James Bond / Indiana Jones style adventures that take place within real worlds and shooting Nazis, because who doesn't want to do that in real life or in fantasy?
Well, Nazis might not like it.
Right.
Well, there'll be a Nazi.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy.
What's like the famous sticker that was like on Bob Dylan's guitar or whatever, like this machine kills Nazis or something like that. Anyway, well, is there anything more to be said about historical gaming?
Yeah, we could have gone on for a long time. So maybe there'll be a revisit, especially based on questions that everybody has in the comments. But I would say, like, at least on a parting thought, it can seem intimidating, but it's not. It really isn't. It's how much of this detail is supporting that story. Always. And that's, You know, I remind myself of that in my writing. I remind myself when I'm playing a historic campaign, you know, this is fun. This is entertaining, and your story comes first. Let the details support it.
Indeed. And speaking of details, it was Woody Guthrie, and the message on his guitar was, "This machine kills fascists." Get it right. That's
Nice.
all the listeners are screaming at YouTube right now. Failblog.org.
What?
What?
You would put that on Failblog?
No, it's just my fail by saying it was Bob Dylan. But anyway,
You should listen to the full version of that ad read that I did earlier today. We can maybe put that on Failblog.
Oh yeah.
All right, Glorp, you get out of here. All right, see you all next week, guys.
Ciao.
And gals.
Bye. The 3RPG podcast is produced and performed by Sandra Rosner, Chris Takasaki, and Jay Underwood. Music and audio editing, mixed, and master is done by Jay Underwood, art by Chris Takasaki. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have any questions, please email us at 3rpgpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the 3RPG podcast, please visit our Patreon or visit our website at www.3rpg.com. That is THREERPG.com.